Okay. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. Happy to hear with Stefan. And our fireside chat is a little bit about his story and about the exit to Helvetia, but maybe also give us some insights what are your plans right now. And just maybe, who doesn't know Stefan? Oh, I see, one or two. So you have to explain them who you are and why you're sitting here.
Why I'm sitting here is actually for you to respond, but happy to quickly introduce myself. So my name is Stefan. Who am I? My professional background is in law and finance. I worked for McKinsey for about 10 years. I left the partnership to start Moneypark in 2012. I had a first exit on the Moneypark business in 2016 and a second close to final exit earlier this year with a very small stake remaining. I stay involved in the company, but that's my Moneypark story. And in 2016, I founded a second company in a related field called Price Hubble, which I'm now dedicating my time to. So that's a little bit me on the professional side. Other than that, I've been living here for 15 years. I'm now a proud Swiss citizen for about 12 months. So I'm quite happy about this. But obviously, I was born and raised in the northern part of Germany, and I'm happy to be living here with my 2 children and my wife.
Can you reveal some numbers of the exit? That's just for the investors, you know, what we missed.
Which one are you interested in?
Yeah, in first one, in the Moneypark one. Pixelpark, we already have some figures? I was not aware of it.
No, I think
Pixelpark.
The numbers on the first exit were widely publicized, so I think that one is pretty much a given and public knowledge. So just to repeat it, back in the days, it was 70% at 53 million enterprise value. And no, I cannot, unfortunately, release the numbers on the second exit, but trust me, it was good timing.
Yeah, I was touching him in the back, but he didn't say the numbers, right? Okay, yeah. Now, starting your first endeavor, being 10 years or more at McKinsey, make a successful career. I heard that if you stay at McKinsey 20 years, you get a super good big package afterwards. You don't have to work anymore. What did you encourage to start a startup and prove to be that the consultant could be a good startup, which the most are not? That's why they're consultants.
Fair point. Anybody from McKinsey here before I burn my last friends and bridges that I still have?
Here, over there, 2, 3.
I gotta be extra careful now. No, listen, I mean, I had a great time at McKinsey, so there's no doubt about it. I think it's a fantastic firm, but there's a big but. There are actually a few buts. At McKinsey, no matter how good the package is, you're not very responsible for anything, and that hurt me. So that was just not what I was looking for. You are a consultant after all, and there's nothing wrong with it. They're badly needed in many situations, but you don't hold ultimate responsibility for your actions, let alone your words. And that was a bit too little in terms of where I think my true challenges, or I would find my true challenges. Secondly, as you already pointed out, I think it doesn't start at 20 years; it starts earlier. So at 10 years already, once you've been made partner, you can almost feel the golden handcuffs getting tighter and tighter by the year. So very few of us leave the partnership beyond a certain time of having been a partner. It's just too cozy, too comfortable, too well paid for too little downside. So it is a very, very, I knew the moment would come that, I would either face it and do it, or I would just stay there for a lot longer. And I just didn't want to do the latter. So I decided to. And by the way, nothing to do with McKinsey, but I always wanted to start a company. I felt this blank sheet of paper moment is something I had to experience.
And then with Moneypark, what was the idea in the first? Did you change your business model? Did you pivot anything, or it was stick? We saw on the exit, stick on the business model. It's one of the key things if you want to do an exit.
Well, it's easier said than done, but of course we made a couple of changes. I mean, I don't know, I made tons of mistakes during those years. To be fair, I never changed the underlying reasons, the underlying values that we wanted to go into the market with. So Moneypark is a lot about transparency, it's a lot about independence, it's a lot about convenience in a retail banking market focusing on mortgages where we started the business. So that to the very day has never changed. But at the very beginning, we dreamed of not just doing that in mortgages, but also in investment and savings products. I mean, that was out of the door within a few months. So the very early website still had these riders on other products. So that was quote unquote disaster, which we never actually doubled down on. We entered the retirement space 2 years late, or 2 years later. I would now say 2 years too late, because it's a perfect bundle and a very great element to the customer advisory process. And we have now 2.5 years, well, 2 years ago, give or take, entered the real estate space, which was never in the books when I started the company. So indeed, we have made constant changes to the business model. We also integrated the first big data platform in real estate into the customer proposition. I mean, all of those massive elements that we added to the business model were not in the books when I started the company.
And did you figure out how big the market was? I heard you once 5 years ago, but you were surprised finally how big the market is, untapped, just the bank. So actually you did not disrupt it totally, but you made a big change to the market, how you're going to buy a mortgage right nowadays.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, obviously, it would be a bit shameful if I had not done any market research before I entered the market, especially given the background. But it is quite interesting. I mean, I don't know how many investor discussions I've had over the last years, always, especially to international investors, always having to explain the size of this market that we are in. Switzerland gets very quickly judged on its population size, very quickly judged by the strong language divide that we have, and hence the additional complexity in a small market. And all of that is true, but there are pockets in this market that are phenomenally big, and the mortgage market is by far the largest single piece of it on the retail banking side. So a market that is 2/3 the size of Germany, which is obviously 10 times bigger in terms of numbers of people. So there are pockets in this market that are hugely attractive, not easy to get into, but attractive.
Is that the reason why you never went to Germany, because it was a smaller market? Or it was always a focus to be in Switzerland and to be successful? It's now the question going to the exit. I mean, you exited to a Swiss company, which is nice that we keep the workforce here in Switzerland and not in the US or somewhere else.
No, I mean, obviously, we thought about it. We toyed with a few international ideas.
When you say we, how many founders were there?
Well, I founded the company. I had another guy that I brought in as an investor who was briefly involved in the business, and then obviously a management team. Right? It's never just a one-man show.
So you're more a solo founder guy.
I was founded the company solo, but again, it's never just on a single on a single shoulder. So. But we thought about expanding it internationally, but it never really got to this point, because the market here is super big, but it's also constraints that you have. I mean, there are not too many among us here who've done fintech B2C Switzerland businesses. Mm-hmm. So it's a totally different game from a B2B international business. And with PriceHubble, I have internationalized the business within the first 12 months. We entered France, then Germany, and are now in 10 countries. So, but it's a B2B SaaS business model, and Moneypark is a B2C customer banking platform in Switzerland. And the acquisition cost, the cost of doing business here, the people, the sales that you need to find and retain, these are massive challenges. And that's why, contrary to, I don't want to spoil the party, but Switzerland is a very tough turf for B2C fintech businesses, and it's just my personal experience.
Did you have investors who supported you? We are an angel investor club, so you said there was the first guy with you, it was the investor. Can you tell us a little bit how you have chosen, why you have chosen this kind of investments or not? To just explain a little bit the investor story for Moneypark before you done the first exit.
I mean, the gentleman right before us was talking about smart money and pick your investors smartly, and yeah, that's all good and glorious, but you just need the money, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is first and foremost what matters. And all this, but all this talk about smart money, I only buy it to a certain degree. Investors can be incredibly helpful, and then I have had very strong experiences. but also I have had plenty of expectations not met, hopes, where everybody tells you, I'm not financial, I'm strategic. It's just fucking bullshit. It's just at the end of the day, they want the exit, we want the money, and that's a good deal. So I wouldn't give too much into this camp.
But from your point of view, you had from beginning on investors because you didn't have enough money. And did they have really the expectation to make you to a fast exit, or did you have the chance to develop your company and bring it to the level you thought about? Now it's worthwhile. And did you several rounds like seed, pre-seed, A series, B series?
I hope I remember all the questions you asked me right now. But
but it's like chatting, Fireside chat.
It's good. No, yes.
We're not prepared, so it's okay.
Yes, I had a bit of a professional career before, but I'm not from a wealthy family. So for me, it was clear I couldn't bootstrap the company, or at least maybe I could have, but then it would have taken up a lot longer than I wanted it to be. So, I look for investors right from the get-go. And, initially, like we all do, the first round is typically family, friends-ish kind of network. Then, with each round thereafter, you sort of professionalize the investor landscape a little bit. You as the rounds get bigger, you talk to different people. It's obvious, right? So, and yes, I try to be not so much on Moneypark side, and in fact, I made many mistakes on the investor search on Moneypark, but I try to be a lot more strategic on price level, on the choice and pick of investors. Yep. And touch wood, it worked, in my view, much better. But also Moneypark, I had good investors. I had a lot of support. Helvetia is one of those investors. Another one is sitting basically in front of me.
He's also investor in Price Hub.
Yeah,
I have
TX worked with us from the beginning. So these are super helpful connections and then parties to the whole party.
Summarized, investor, yes, but pick them carefully. If you
have a choice, if you're spoiled by choices, by all means, right? Pick wisely, do whatever you feel is right. But a lot of us on the founder side, we don't have that choice, right? We manage, and that's totally different from a corporate job or even a McKinsey project, but you manage against extremely tight timelines. And we're seeing it right now, right? I heard a lot of, still bullish mood in the room on the VC panel, and I had another investor call after lunch. The market is in panic mode right now. Right? We are seeing a lot of term sheets being pulled. We're seeing a lot of terms massively changing. It's a buyer's market, not a seller's market anymore. And this is so different from only 3 months ago. So what I'm saying is, if you operate a business with only a certain liquidity path that we all do, 6 months. I think at Moneypark I never had more than 12 months cash. Never.
Which is cool, actually. So, you had to run fast.
Yeah, but it means the margin of error is super thin, and we could touch the wall a few times. It was close, right? It was very, very close, and this humbles you. This grounds you, and this just makes you respectful of doing it better the second time around.
Was Helvetia the first offer you got for an exit, or did you had before exits? And just tell us a little bit the plan of the exit, or the planning of the exit. I call it art and surprise. So I don't believe in planning, but maybe you planned the exit.
Yeah, I wish there was a lot of planning going into it. So what triggered it in 2016, which was the first major exit on the Moneypark side, was not us planning it. It was an offer that we received. So a Swiss bank wanted to buy 100% of Moneypark. Okay. That triggered a board discussion, and there were obviously immediately voices that say, let's go and run with it, right? And I was feeling this is probably not right. I didn't like the idea of selling to a bank at that time because it would undermine a lot of the business value that we would bring to the customers, especially on the independent side. So that's why I said, let's keep cool. Let's try to find other options. Let's try to talk to a few market participants. But yes, there were parts of my board that were smelling money, and obviously we had to then start going into the process. And I don't regret it at all. I think it was a very, very healthy process. It was a great experience. It was pretty fast, 3 months, basically start to finish.
That would be a question, yes, for 3 months.
It was fast, yeah. It was fast, just right before the summer until maybe 4.5, give or take. But minus the summer break, it was about 3 to 4 months. And there were other term sheets and there were other parties interested, but I felt we made the right choice, and I still do.
Did you have a transaction advisor like Alantra?
Interesting question.
It's just to help our sponsors to bring the name in.
We did initially. The transaction advisor lasted 4 weeks, and then we separated again. And ever since, we've done the rest on our own.
But in general, it's not bad to have a transaction advisor.
Yeah, I'm sure it can help a lot. And by no means speaking against Elantra, they were not the transaction advisor, by the way. It was another boutique M&A advisory firm, which we were I was extremely unhappy with. So I think it can help a lot, but it depends on the setup. It depends on what stage. I mean, to be getting introductions to the local strategic potential investors into Moneypark business, I didn't need an advisor for this. The market is too small. Everybody knows each other. Internationally speaking, different market participants, it's a different story. But I think within the space that we were at, we knew the participants pretty well.
And how was the discussion internally with investors? I mean, I think you still had the majority at that time, right?
No, we sold the majority.
Yeah, you sold, but you had the, you were the one who could pull the trigger, right?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Did you had any pressure in addition that investors forced you to exit, or they even said, no, Stefan, let's make that to a unicorn? I mean, at that time, you would be the first. Another round, and you would have been unicorn status, and you were not sitting there, so flying around and making that speech. No, we're happy we're Swiss, yes.
No, I mean, I guess this is very, very, each company is different. So in our board structure, the board that we had different parties. We had, business angels, we had, pure financial investors that were looking at nothing but the exit. We had more strategic investors that were also having, the breadth for long-term rights. So, and at the end of the day, the deal that we struck with Helvetia at the time was reflective of that. So, we didn't go into 100% sale because I still felt, and I still do feel, there's a lot of potential in the business going forward. So, this is one of the key deal elements. Also, the entire structure, the entire package that we talked about, looking at the rest of the company, looking at put call options, valuations, all of that stuff. This was reflective of different camps on our board, and this is pretty typical. There's nothing special on Moneypark. I mean,
no. If you have exit experience, yes, it's normally all the ingredients you need. In addition to that, did you ever thought of not selling the company? Was exit always the plan? Or you just let the things flow and then came this offer in and then we're starting the discussions? Like we had saying, Elantra put it out some highlights, what you have to do in exit. Housekeeping has to be done all the time, so you have to have a due diligence room, etc., etc. But I have not seen it in that checklist that ever a startup has done that.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I'm sure there were other parties involved that were strongly driven by the exit fantasy. But personally, it is so much work, and it has so many great days, amazing days, but also has a lot of lows, a lot of setbacks, a lot of challenging moments. I personally believe if you don't love what you're doing, you shouldn't do it. And if I were only interested in the exit part, then I would have become an investor. But I didn't become an investor for a reason. I really like what we created. I like the momentum that we set to the market, the disruptive element to it. I really felt a lot of satisfaction doing from what I did over the last 10 years. Perfect.
Now, my next question is more about Price Hubble. So you started in 2016. Was it a spin-off of?
No.
So it was a separate thing. So you had time for 2 companies. That's great.
Yeah, well, time for 2. I didn't operationally lead Price Hubble, so I immediately looked for a management team. I was overseeing fundraising, M&A, strategic topics, and to this very day I am, and stepping it up as we speak. But I couldn't operationally lead 2 companies. So to answer that question. And yes, it is challenging.
I'm released on that because I just can do one thing in my life.
But back in the days, I was looking for something in this case, digital products I could use in order to reach out to customers earlier, to support them better to optimize my conversion during advising them, and to retain them longer. So to offer something beyond the point of transaction. And valuation in real estate is obviously a very, very key element to it, and there was nothing on the market. I mean, obviously there were valuation providers, but nothing that I was daring to put in front of the customer.
Partner was the only one, like.
Yeah, but this is a back office. I mean, you know, we're sitting in a building, right? So let's be quiet. But it's a back office, mid office system. It's a totally different proposition. And so I would have probably bought or you know, looked into licensing something, but there was nothing. So I felt, well, I believed, and this is valuable for a customer, and then I said, okay, let's do it.
So that means also that you are a serial entrepreneur right now.
Well, if two makes a series.
Yes, it makes a series, a very good one. So thank you very much, and we think that you should do another and another's and invest in more startups, maybe as business angels.
Thank you very much.
I have time for one question. Yeah, George.
Thank you.
Actually, George is hired to make questions. I just want to say that.
Very interesting topic. Thank you. Stefan, your slightly dismissive comments on smart investing, was it mainly driven by your bad experiences or because since day one you never believed in it? Thank you.
That's a good one, so apologies for that. So I didn't mean to offend anybody. I guess I was just polarizing. But I do believe that you get to meet a lot of people that tell you how strategic they are and how, you know, value-adding they are to the business. And yeah, I believe a lot of it is good intentions, but it's not easy to add value to a business from the outside. And this is why I feel, you know, a lot of this has to be discounted for. And a lot of the smartness, quote unquote, comes with preferential terms or comes with any strings attached. And my personal experience is, be smart, help my business, but I don't pay for it. If you add value, you get more than you know, what we initially agreed on, that's fine. But after the fact, I want to see the proof first. And that's just my personal experience, and you know, again, happy to be wrong, but smart investing is easier said than done, is my personal view on it.
We agree on that, and we also agree that more corporates should help to make exits in Switzerland, so I encourage the corporate guys here, sitting here, buy our startups, make our ecosystem stronger, and make more Stefans. Thank you very much. That's it.